Well, I'm getting ready to make some upgrades to my quadcopter, so I thought I would give an update on some lessons learned. The one upgrade I'm doing is I've got this RunCam Eagle, which has a better wide dynamic range, so it'll be much easier to fly when I'm looking into the sun, as the sun is setting much earlier now that the time changed, and it's really difficult to fly with the dark shadows and the bright sun, and this will have a wider dynamic range and handle that much better. So some of the lessons learned in the process is as I've been learning and going through numerous crashes, as evidenced by all the grass stain and on the speed controllers. It's been through quite a lot, and it's held up pretty well, but I have had damage now and then. And for one thing, when I started, this is the receiver. I had that mounted down here, and that wasn't the best place for it. I've had to replace this receiver, and now this receiver replacement I've wrapped in heat shrink, and I mount that under the top plate. The problem with it down here is in crashes, I had it tied down, but not well enough. And let's see if I can get this to focus and show you here. The first thing was right here is a little pad for the signal strength indicator that goes back to the flight controller or the on-screen display. And that pad got ripped off in one of the crashes. I didn't have the wire hot glued down, so the wire, when it in the crash, the wire just pulled that pad right off. And so, well, I lived without the signal strength indicator for a while. But then in another crash on the other side, here's a capacitor right there. Let's see if I can get that a little better. The capacitor right there. Well, on this side, there's also supposed to be a capacitor right here on these two pads. And that capacitor got ripped off in one of the crashes. So the way I knew something was wrong, it would still fly and still get signal, but the way I knew something was wrong is that the signal strength was extremely weak, and I kept getting an indicator on the Taranis that I had a signal strength problem. And so anytime I got a little distance away, then it had trouble with the signal strength. So I took off the antennas to save what I had of those. Another thing that I've learned since about is the antenna placement. I have them currently where I put them up on the plate right here in the middle, but I've had problems when I crash, and that will bend down and get into the props, and so it ends up cutting the antenna. So that's been a problem. Another problem I had was the video transmitter. That also, at one point in time, I had it up underneath and not secure well enough, and so in the crashes, there's supposed to be this pin there, this header, and that's supposed to be where I have these wires soldered on at this point. So that got completely ripped off. So ended up, I do have another video transmitter. This is a 200 watt milliwatt transmitter. I'm going to go with a 25 watt milliwatt transmitter, and because I've read that I probably don't need that much power, so I'm going to give that a try on as I'm upgrading this. So the placement of the components is really pretty key, and to have them tied down pretty well to prevent damage and the crashes is pretty hard. The other thing that I'm changing, well, another thing that I learned or was on one of the websites, the YouTube channels that I watch, was that it's good to buy a quad frame that you can buy replacement parts. Well, that turned out to be true. This top plate goes on here, and you can see in one of the crashes when I had to cut power and it came down on its tail that it busted the back where the antenna mounts, busted that right off. So, you know, I just ordered a replacement top plate, which was a lot cheaper than ordering a new frame. The other thing about this is, turns out I don't really care for these battery straps like this. In time, the Velcro wears out, and I wasn't getting very good grip around the batteries. And so I've gone to these leather straps like this that buckle around, you know, that go through and buckle, and that seems to hold a lot better. And another change that I've learned to make is the battery placement. Well, the battery goes on the top, but what I used to do was have the battery cable here come out the back and loop around the back and connect into the connector down there. But in some of the crashes, the wire would get nicked by the blades, and so I've had problems with that. And these balance charge, I've had them busted several times. So what I'm now doing, and it's working really well, is turning it around the other way and bend this back over the top, and then you just mount that right on top of there like that, and so that keeps it nice and secure. And I haven't had any problems since I started doing it using that method. So the battery straps and the placement of the battery has been you know, another lesson learned. Let's see, what else? I think that's, well, the other thing is having the replacement parts. One of the crashes, they came down pretty hard on the driveway on this motor. And while I've ordered a replacement motor, but this one, it still turns, but it's not nearly as smooth. It's got some damage in there, I think, and so it's not nearly as smooth as the other motors. These spin much better than this one, so I'm got another motor on the way. I've had a lot of lines and noise in the video, so I'm going to use this voltage regulator in my upgrade, which will help smooth out. It's got the LC, the inductance and capacitance to take out some of that noise. For the flight controller, I'm going to the Omnibus. The Flip 32 Omnibus is the flight controller, and probably we'll be able to clean some of this up and do a better job. And the PDB, because I won't need this PDB, I'm going to use a simpler power distribution board as I upgrade it. The new flight controller has the Omnibus has the on-screen display built in, and I can take the battery voltage directly up to the flight controller and have it regulated there. So the other thing was, at one point I had when I was using this Foxeer camera, and I had this mounted on the top plate so I could change the on-screen display and play around with the settings. One time when I was trying to go into the swing set, it got this, I ended up hitting it, and so this got completely torn off, and I ended up having to solder on not too straight there, but had to solder on another button, get that fixed up. But this one has a different way of setting it, so I won't need this now. But that's I think that's about it. The top plate. Here's the new video transmitter that will be using, and so this one is actually switchable between 200 milliwatt and 25 milliwatt by snipping this wire there. So I'm going to just start out with 25 and see how that works. I think that's about all I have for lessons. Oh, here's one other thing was these standoffs here. I had those, these standoffs. These were the ones I had on there when I was taking it apart. Notice I have here the standoff was completely busted and well, I mean, it was still there, but you couldn't tell that it was busted because of the screw that was screwed into the flight controller holding it down. But that was one place where I would hear noise or vibration was because of that. I think it had a little bit of vibration, a little bit of noise, and it was because the standoff was busted. So that's about it for where things are at now. Waiting on upgrade parts to arrive and the new flight controller, and I have the power distribution board and just about everything ready to go. So hopefully we'll get things rolling here soon. Catch you later.